What's up, fellas? Welcome back to Convos over Cold Brew with me, your host, Emma Abrahamson. Today we're talking to Kelly Roberts, who's based in New York. You may be familiar with her from the movement the Sports Bra Squad, and she is also the founder of the Badass Lady Gang, which is a women's running community created to connect, motivate, inspire, and provide women with the resources and community they need to get active in ways that empower them. I love everything that she's about. She's super outspoken, and I think this is a great episode on body positivity. And for me personally, she's definitely impacted my relationship with running and my body, and I hope you guys get something out of this episode, so let's get straight to it. Kelly, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on, dude. I'm excited to chat with you. Before we get started and we dive in, can we get a little rundown of who you are and what you're about?
Yeah, my name's Kelly Roberts. I am the creator of a body positivity movement called the Sports Bra Squad, and then a big old badass community called the Badass Lady Gang, where we have a training team, we have online communities, and we used to have in real life chapters, which are on hiatus right now while we try to survive 2020. But yeah, it's really about connection and finding fun in movement. It's not so much the place you go when you're really looking to run fast and hard and far. It's more, a place you go if you really want to have the best time ever on the run.
Yeah, so what's the difference between the two, between the Badass Lady Gang and the Sports Bra Squad, or is it the same thing?
I mean, I think the Sports Bra Squad is a lot more of like an actual movement. The Badass Lady Gang, like one of our core pillars is redefining what strength looks like. So the Sports Bra Squad kind of comes into play there. It really is just a way to like empower women to run in their sports bras, regardless of their shape and size, because I think we all have preconceived notions of what health looks like, of what strength looks like, of what a runner looks like, regardless of how like versed you are in the diverse range of sizes in running. So, I mean, I know people who are like so much smaller than me and still struggle to run in a sports bra. And I know people who are much heavier than me and like rock the sports bra better than anyone. It's really just about like on those warmer days, find comfort in running your sports bra and not spend the entire time consumed with what other people might be thinking about you and giving other people a chance to see their bodies in your body.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what really resonates with me is I've been like at a lot of different stages with my body, and one of the main things for me was I never ran with just my sports bra. Like I never took my shirt off. And
Really?
this was from when I was like in high school, and I wasn't super self-conscious in high school, but like I don't know, I was always like a little bit self-conscious of like my midsection area, so I never took my sports bra, or I never took my shirt off. And then I never took my shirt off. But then in college, when I was probably at my leanest ever of my whole life, I think I was even more self-conscious, and
Yeah.
I never once took my shirt off in college, I don't think, because I was always so worried about it. And like my teammates would, but I just never did because I was always so like I don't know, so scared of what people would say behind me or like behind my back, or if people would talk about it. And I think when I saw you and like what you were doing on Instagram, it had such a profound impact on me, which you probably like wouldn't even know. I mean, we've talked about like a little bit and we've been in conversation for a little while, but I think what like your movement really helped me do is like after college, when I definitely like put on weight, and it was like necessary weight. I needed to kind of regain my physical health in terms of my hormones. And that was the first time in my life I actually felt confident running without a shirt on. And it was also probably the biggest I'd ever been in my life, but I don't know. It was like from seeing your post and your movement, it really helped me kind of let go of like what like thinking about what other people thought of me while I was running, and it was like a very empowering empowering thing for me.
I mean, that means a lot. Diet culture is like the reaches of diet culture in everything, not just in running, is so devastating. And trying to figure, I call it poison punch. Like, we are all drunk on poison punch. We've all been drinking the poison punch forever. I mean, you can't do anything. Halloween, we had a birthday party for my sister. It's on the popcorn, like guilt-free snacking. Like, it's literally anywhere and everywhere. And it's wild that you could have someone who is like the caliber of athlete that you are running at where'd you, Oregon? Is that
Yeah,
University of
Oregon.
Oregon?
Yeah.
And feeling the way you feel about your body. You know, it's there, and then you go all the way down to the mom who's coming back post pregnancy, and like she feels the exact same way that you do. So it's not, it really doesn't matter what caliber of like how much you're working out or what you're eating, like it's poison punch, everyone's drinking it. So that's like, it makes me so mad that we spend as much time as we do consumed with our body image, just feeling like shit, like just like totally and completely convinced that we need to lose weight, that we need to be smaller, that we need to look different. So I mean, that makes me feel so happy. It really is like, yes, we want everybody to not care about what other people are thinking, but really what the Sports Bra Squad is about is like, I want people to look in and say, what am I saying to myself? Because that's the dialogue that really matters, right? Like, when you really fix that, you don't give two fucks about what anyone else thinks about you. Yeah, it's not fun to like come in contact with, but you don't like look for like confirmation of all the horrible things that you're saying to yourself anymore. You just say like, "Oh, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Drunk on poison punch." I get it. I was there too.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have like a moment in time where you just decided to start running with your shirt off, or was it kind of like you, because I know you said that you didn't grow up running.
No.
Yeah, so I guess my question is like, what got you into running, and were you always kind of like this, I guess, in terms of like
No.
body positivity when you started?
No, I spent my whole life crash dieting, starving myself, making myself sick, taking diet pills. Like, I've done everything and anything to try to lose weight. I've always had a body type that wasn't skinny. I've always been healthy, but I never was skinny. And my sister is incredibly skinny. So for me, not understanding that we all have different body types, I would look to my sister and to like, I mean, I was born in 89. So like I grew up with, just like you, I mean, I'm sure you did too, with like Christina Aguilera dirty music video, like Britney Spears, like all like Beyonce and like everybody was wearing like those really low cut jeans. Everyone was like ridiculously skinny and like midriff. And we grew up in the same town, for anyone who doesn't know. We went to the same high school. Did we overlap?
No, I don't think I was born in 96, so I was at
Okay.
LCC for
Well,
20.
ironically, it took me
Yeah.
like 8 years to finish high school. No, I'm just kidding. We Yeah, I was never athletic. I came from a very athletic family though. So that was really hard for me. Like, we came from a very like, be the best, whatever you do, like be the best, work really hard, really competitive. So whenever I tried anything that was sports, like I really wasn't very good. When I was in elementary school, I actually really liked running and I was really fast, but like when I went to middle school, I my body totally changed and I was no longer the best. And I think that for me, I didn't know how to contextualize that. So I just immediately stopped and was like, I hate this. This is awful and horrible and hard, and I'm not the best. So I don't want to do it. So I didn't for a really long time. The only time I went to the gym was like to work out like a crazy person to try to lose weight because I was always trying to look like my sister. I was convinced that I was doing something wrong because I wasn't as skinny as she was. We had the same genes, like it didn't make sense to me that I didn't look like her. And I was just like constantly comparing myself to her. So I was constantly dieting and I would crazy yo-yo with my weight. And every time I would lose 10, 20 pounds, everyone around me would tell me how great I looked. Oh my God, you lost so much weight. You look so great. When in reality, I was starving myself. I was taking diet pills. I was going to the gym for an hour twice a day, like truly like lightheaded the entire time, like most unhealthy. And then after I graduated, after my first year of college, my younger brother died. And like, I didn't want to work out anymore. I just wanted to hide. I didn't want to run into anyone and have to like talk about it. Because whenever you run into someone, they're like, how are you? How was your summer? And I would have to be like, oh, really bad. My
Yeah.
brother died. Wild, right? Like, and then you'd have to like comfort them because they're like, oh, I don't know how to handle this. And you're
Yeah.
like, you're okay. When really you want to be the one being like, it's me.
Yeah.
You should be
Yeah.
comforting me. So I just hid and like, we were drinking. So like, I just wasn't the healthiest. So I gained like 75, 80 pounds pretty quickly. And I just like for the first time was like, oh my God, this is going to be me forever. And I was so depressed. And my mom was kind of like, I already lost a kid. I can't lose you. You're very clearly like out of control and unhappy. I don't know what to do to help you. And luckily that semester I was taking this nutrition course and we had to log all of our food, not to like count calories, but so she could teach us all how nutrients and vitamins, like how it all works to make your body work, how our bodies are these incredible machines, that how your nutrition, keeps you alive and fuels you. So she saw pretty quickly that I was what I was doing and how I was eating and was kind of like, this is bad news bears. Like, what are you doing? Because I was doing a diet program, one of those fake diet programs where you like
Oh
eat fake
gosh.
processed foods to try to
Yeah.
lose weight. And she was like, you can't eat this like fake bullshit brownies and cheese puffs that they give you all day long. Like that's no. So she's
You're
like,
just
if
like
you want to make
starving your
this,
body of nutrients.
yeah, and like you're trying to be in ketosis the whole time. Like it was just really bad. And it was so expensive too. Like again, poison punch, like expensive top shelf poison punch. And she offered to like make it my final if I like actually like took it really seriously, figured out how to make a diet that was healthy and fueled me and wasn't focused on weight loss. And it like totally changed my life. But it wasn't until like after I graduated from college that I like lost weight. I was going to the gym insanely still, like twice a day, in this like crazy attempt to make sure that I didn't gain weight back, making myself sick whenever I ate anything that I thought would make me gain weight. And I like just after I graduated from college, I fell apart. Like it was, I got my undergrad in theater, which is like, what?
Whoa.
What am I gonna do with my life? How do I pay back my student loans? Like it was the first time that I was like, who let me do this?
Yeah.
Where were my parents? Why couldn't I have those parents who were like, this is a terrible idea, get a job, like go get a degree? Like my parents were like, you can do anything, which I'm obviously kidding, and I'm very grateful for my theater degree, but at the time was pretty like sobering to be a bigger girl with acne scars and then like being like, there's no way I'm ever going to be on TV or work in movies or like be a working actor. There's no fucking way. And I moved home and was just miserable. And yeah, that's why I started running. I was like literally just desperate enough. I was so miserable and so like depressed and grief stricken that I like went for a run and like decided I was going to keep doing it. And it was awful. Like so awful. So awful. The worst. Like I was that miserable that it was that awful. And I was like, this is better than sitting on the couch watching all my friends living their life on social media or going to watch reality television after work at my like shitty 9 to 5 job that like filled me with dread and and shame. So like I started doing it and then I ran a half marathon pretty quickly. Like after like 2 months after I started, like
Whoa.
I know, crazy, insane. It was at Disneyland and like it was total like spur of the moment.
That's kind of fun though.
It was awesome. Awesome and horrible at the same
Yeah,
time.
that sounds painful and fun.
And then a couple months later I ran my first marathon and after that I was like, dude, if I can run a marathon, like there's literally nothing I can't do. So I'm just going to go move to New York and figure it out.
I'm just
And
gonna
then I
move
did
to New
that.
York.
I'm going to fucking do it. And yeah, pretty quickly after that, I went viral during a half marathon, like taking selfies with hot guys behind me.
I
And
think
this was like,
I 100% saw that.
everyone did. It was during Obama when we had slow news weeks. This
Mm.
was when you could like go online and not just like see the world on fire.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Remember those days? Going viral was so easy back then. And like that created a blog, which turned into this.
That's awesome. And then now is this your full-time job?
Yeah, I've been doing this full time for like 5 years. I didn't answer your question, did I?
I don't even remember what my question was, but I mean, you did a great job explaining kind of who you are and where you came from in terms of running.
It's the day after the election, and I am telling you, I am not here.
I think all of us are a little bit elsewhere at the moment. So
I am on eggshells.
you and everyone else. So it's a
I
really
am
good time to
not
record a
well.
podcast.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell that joke. Never mind.
Yeah, maybe just skip it. How do you like living it? How do you like living in New York though? Was it a good decision for you?
The best decision. This city is a is a monster, and it is the hardest thing I've ever done. Like I think people will tell you how hard it is to live in New York City, and like add an exponent. That's New York City, but that is also why it's so great. You like really have to work your tits off to be here. And that is why the energy is so great. You know, like everyone's really working really hard to stay here and be here. So everyone's really interesting. And like I worked the polls yesterday. Like the amount of people that you see who don't look like you and who speak so many different languages, like that's really what I love. It's incredible how you just walk around hearing so many different languages, and it's just like such a diverse, wild place.
I always want to know like why is New York such a hard place to live? Just because it's so expensive or because like it's just so competitive out there? Because I mean I've been there and it's like obviously there's a ton of people working hard, city that never sleeps or whatever. But it's hard for me to grasp like why people say that it's like a very hard place to live.
We were ironically like literally just talking about this on Halloween, me and my sister and my cousins, because it's such a weird time right now, and New York is very different than what it normally is. And like a lot of people are leaving for now. They'll come back, but like people, this is like a chance for people to be like, I've always wanted to live here. I'm gonna go give it 6 months. So we were talking about it, and she was like, I just don't know if I want to be here right now, but I've also never like imagined leaving. So we were talking about like what makes New York New York, like why be here? And I think a huge part of it is the competition element of stuff. Like as an athlete, you know, like competition makes you better. Having people who are working harder than you makes you work harder. So like there's that element of it, that like iron sharpen iron type dynamic everywhere you go. And for me, like I wanted to move here for the art scene. I love theater and I love performance art and I love visual art. So I always wanted to be here to be around those kinds of people because I love storytelling and I love how other people do storytelling and how they talk about it. So like if you go to a bar, and granted like if you're in finance, like you could surround yourself with people who like just work really hard and like don't have these stuff, but like for the most part if you go somewhere you're going to be in a room crammed on top of each other. Like were you super uncomfortable at first when you started going out to eat that you would like sit down and there's like someone right here and they're like listening to your conversation?
Yeah. It's
It's
wild.
wild, right?
Yeah.
So like at first I had the same reaction of like I hate this, everybody's in your shit. Like if you break up, like 8 people are breaking up with you, you know, like there's like 8 people at the table with you, you know, like you have no privacy here. And that's part of the reason I love it, because like you go out to dinner and you just start meeting people. You go out to lunch and you're meeting people, really, really fascinating, interesting people who have come from like completely different walks of life than you. And you really never know who you're gonna meet. Like the people I've met here in the 7 or 8 years that I've been here have like leveled up my career in ways that I like can't even, I could never have imagined without like knowing what was coming. People in so many different industries helping and stepping in and introducing me to other people. And I just like I don't think you can get that other places. And that's not to say that other places aren't great and don't have things to offer. Like look at you right now. Like, oh, a tree. I remember what a tree looks like. You know, like we
Yeah.
don't get that here. Like if like right, I don't know, going outside once winter hits is gonna be really tough for us. Like I still run outside, but like hanging out outside, like unless I'm gonna wear a snowsuit, you
It
know,
doesn't
is
happen. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a give and take, but like the energy is definitely different. The people are very different, and everyone who's here really chooses to be here, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. There's something enticing about New York. I've always wanted to live there. I really enjoy the city. It just is like it's a scary place to decide to move to move.
I almost quit a couple times. I definitely almost quit a couple times.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah, it seems like a stressful environment, but
I
like you
love
said,
watching TikTok, like watching little New York TikToker girls being
well,
like,
they're like
today I went to fucking Soho and I got some fucking lattes and then I walked over here and then I went over here and then I went to bed and that's my night. And I'm like, that's not New York.
see, that's probably what I'm seeing on the internet right now. It's like all the I'm going shopping in Soho and then like what you said. That's what I
You
see
know
on
how
TikTok.
often I go to Soho? Like 3 times a year.
Good, good, good. So okay, switching it back to to running over instead of questions that I have
And
about New
then I
York.
got a $12 latte.
So we ran the Chicago Marathon last year together
Yeah,
for
crazy.
I like half of it. I know it was crazy, and I
Serendipitous.
I know I credit a lot of my like I don't I don't know if it was like a decent race for me. I mean, my first
You
marathon,
had
I
a
would say.
great race.
I think, but I credit a lot of it to you, and you like held me back the
Uh,
first half, and I definitely needed that because I think I would have gone out too way too hard and died. But instead, like you held me back the first half, and then I ended up having a great second half because of it. So I credit a lot of that to you. But
well, I'll take it.
you also had a pretty good
2020's
race.
been awful. I'm gonna take anything I can get.
Yeah.
It was
See.
all me.
Yeah, we
My
have to.
race was my race was not great, but I'll take your great race.
Well, did you PR or was it? I know you were
I had a
going.
huge PR.
Okay, so you can't be mad with a PR, you know?
Oh, I'm not. I'm very proud of myself. But like I was at a weird point in my period. Like I was in a lot of pain and fatigue before we even started. And it was like one of those days where we took off. And like Emma and I like literally just ran into each other as we were like about to start.
It
Like
was
that's
on
kind
the
of
start
like
line.
yeah. And I really when we took off, I was like, "Oh, this is just going to be a really hard day." And luckily like I've been running enough and I've done enough mental work that I'm like, I know I can run really strong on a day like this. It's just not going to be the perfect day. And again, like I'm not predicting the future. I like gave myself space to be like anything can happen. Let anything happen and like I just know that this isn't going to be the reason that like I don't do my best. But it was a grind from the start. Like my heart rate from the second we started, Emma, was like 172, like
Oh
as we crossed the
no.
starting line. So it was like one of those days where I'm like, right, this is it. This is the day I have.
172 from the gun. Oh
Like
no.
literally from the gun. As I stood still, it was just like I don't know what was happening, but I'm really proud of myself. Like you pulled away at one point and I was like, stay with her. And I like tried and I'm like, no, there
Yeah,
she
I
goes.
mean, well, once we hit halfway, I definitely like started grinding down the times. Because we
Well,
were
you were
going,
doing the paces I wanted to do, and I just like couldn't do it. I didn't have it in me.
yeah, I mean, it was tiring, but like I mean, you did,
Yeah, Emma
it was
Emma
tiring.
Abramson on the marathon. It was tiring. You should put that on a shirt.
It was tiring, but I actually like, I did not,
2020. It was tiring.
I didn't have the best training leading up to it. Like, I definitely,
Yes, you did.
okay,
It was a very first marathon training experience.
yeah, but
No, it
like,
wasn't perfect, but
it
like you
was
did a
not
lot of work.
perfect. Yeah, I mean, I was doing the long runs and everything, but it was like kind
I
of
was
stressful.
watching you, and I do remember reaching out and being like, "Hey, how
Yeah,
are you?
but
What's going on?"
from my marathon experience, I firmly believe that everyone can run a marathon
Oh
if
yeah.
they train. If they train, without training, maybe not,
Oh
but
yeah.
with training, you can definitely do it. It was such a different pain than I've ever experienced in my life. Like I've never had
A slow burn.
yes, a slow burn. And I don't really think I hit the wall until mile 24. And then I just kind of started dying. But I was like waiting until that 20-mile mark. I was like, uh-oh. Just because that was
When
my longest
you
run.
when you like dial in your like actual training and now especially now that you're bike riding and you like add that into the mix and then you dial in your hydration and fueling for it, like Emma, you're gonna have like a blowout marathon where you just like knock it like to the stratosphere. It's gonna be so fucking rad.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, the Chicago Marathon was like the first endurance thing that I've done, and I really enjoyed not only the atmosphere. Like I can see why people run marathons because, like,
You
even
have to do New York.
oh, I definitely will one. I've heard that's hard though. Isn't
You
it
heard a
hilly?
marathon's hard? That's so
No,
weird.
I mean I heard New York is hard.
No. New York is hard. It's very different than Chicago, but like you'll love it.
Yeah, I mean I'll definitely do it one day. I definitely want to run more marathons. I just kind of want to train a little bit better than I did for Chicago, but I don't have any regrets on Chicago. I'm
The good news is there won't be any for a little while.
That's true. So I got a lot of time to, build up the base.
You got a
Well,
good 2 years before New York comes back.
okay, good. And then I'll be like living there too, so it'll be like home.
You
I'm
should.
just
I
kidding.
think everyone should live in New York, even if you don't stay here. Like it, I mean, there's a reason that cliche Sinatra song is like, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, I kind of want to. We'll see what I don't know. I mean, this
Just
year's
not right
been
now. Don't
yeah,
come now.
no, I'm not coming right now, so
You'll hate
yeah.
it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it sounds like a mess. I mean, it's a
You'd be
mess
so
everywhere, so
lonely.
yeah,
True.
definitely. Well, after Chicago, was it after Chicago? I remember you announced on your Instagram that you're done running marathons.
I don't ever want to do it again.
Why?
I've done 10.
Yeah, I know. That is a lot.
My body really doesn't like the marathon. Like it really, really doesn't. I I I also don't like it. It really does throw me into like disordered eating stuff. And it's something I have to really stay ahead of when I train really hard for a marathon. And I've been getting back into it the last couple of times I've ran a marathon. And it's something that I like really don't like. It's something that I have to figure out and do some work doing. And like that's why this year I was ahead of 2020. I like went into 2020 being like, I'm only gonna move when I want to because I want to. And if I'm gonna take days off, I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna like put priority my relationship to physical activity, which has been really not healthy for a long time. I've really been like running myself into the ground, still trying to like maintain my weight. And just poison punch, I'm telling you, even me who's had like years and years and years of therapy and is very educated on it, I still struggle. And I just needed to take that moment to like be a supporter in other people's story. Like I love running and I like stopped loving running because I wasn't using it for me. I was just using it for a job. Like it's my job. You know this. Like you're probably starting to really struggle with this a little bit. Like the relationship between doing something because you love it a lot and it helps you a lot, but also it's rent. It's health insurance. It's the reason you're like able to buy shit and do shit, like, and then it becomes your world, like the only time I was traveling was to run races and like I couldn't date because I was just like constantly training for shit and like no one wants to be a part of that, unless you date a runner,
Yeah.
which I don't really want to do. And like it was hard. So this year I told myself, I mean, I won't ever say I won't run a marathon again. I don't think I'll ever run a marathon hardcore training for time again. I think if I do, I'll like do it with someone in the Badass Lady Gang who wants to break 4, and be a part of that. Or, run a first marathon with someone. That I would do.
Yeah.
I almost did it on Sunday and had to be like, no, bitch, get on a bike.
Yeah, so you're coaching now, so you kind of shifted into that role more this year, you think?
Yeah, I started coaching 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's the best. I
It really
love
is.
it.
It really is the best. I mean, it's so fun to see people like accomplish goals. I don't know. I find so much fulfillment in that. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of people run their first marathons too, which is such a huge goal for a lot of people. And it's such a huge
Yeah.
accomplishment that a lot of people don't think that they can do. So I can only imagine like how fulfilling that is. Like on Sunday or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was
What
emotional.
Yeah, why was it emotional?
This past Sunday, one of the girls that I coach, her name's Christina, who is just like, she's one of those people that you meet that you're like, you're not real. You are too selfless and rad. She's a, she's Mexican. The parents of an immigrant. Her dad died of COVID this summer in Texas. Like, she was one of the stories that she had to say goodbye to her dad in a text message that a
Oh, that's
nurse read to
horrible.
him alone. Yeah, it's devastating. And then she had to watch Donald Trump get it and say it's not a big deal, who had like the best treatment in the world after her dad was denied going to the hospital because it was full. He
That's
eventually died in the
awful.
hospital, but at first he was turned away. You know, so it's like she wanted to run a marathon this year. She had already planned to run her first marathon after running her first half last year. And then all this happened and she knew it was going to be canceled. So she stopped training. But then her dad passed away and she kind of emailed me and was like, I need something. I don't have anything right now. And I just feel like this would be a way for me to kind of like, I feel like it'll be a way to say goodbye. And I was like, I totally get it. I think if anyone gets it, you know, it might be me.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do it. So she like trained the best she could with 3 months. And this Sunday she ran the course with me and her best friend David on bikes, all by herself in the middle of a pandemic in New York City. We ran the course, and it was just like I don't think I've ever been a part of something that like intense and rewarding to watch her grind it out a marathon. Could you imagine doing your first marathon all by yourself, stopping at stoplights? And it was incredible too because like New Yorkers, you know, are out and about doing their lives and like they're all cheering for her. You know, like everyone's stopping to acknowledge what she's doing and cheer for her. And then there were people at the finish line, like the finish line was really emotional. It was watching someone take back something that was stolen from them in a way and do something huge despite like having so much sadness and grief, like find joy, like purposefully go out of her way to like do something hard because her dad always told her that if you work really hard you can do anything. Like it was like I'm gonna cry right now. It was whoa. It was whoa.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think for me, once I left like the college running world, it was really powerful to see how running impacts so many people's lives beyond like times and places, because for my whole life basically, like it's been all about like how well you can do and like
Yeah.
the placing first and making it to this meet, making it to that meet or whatever. And I think kind of like when I took a step away from running after college, it really showed me like how much it can just impact you to just like go for a run regardless of like what place you get or whatever, and just kind of, you know, do it for yourself, and like how much running like benefits your life otherwise
The
compared.
work you probably had to do to figure that out and to go like switch hats and let something that was like transactional and performative based, like it was your job. It was your job for
Yeah.
a decade,
Yeah.
probably plus,
Yeah.
to then have to say, like, how do I now choose to do this thing because I want to? Like, what does this give to me? And then to have it turn back into your job and to not
Exactly.
be in like an environment in a pressure cooker that helped you perform the best. Like, that must have been so wild.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I mean, it's something I'm still going through like to this day, but I think
Definitely.
it's that's what's been so hard since leaving college. Like you just explained it perfectly. Like it's hard to take a step back from that. And I know a lot of people listening probably feel the same, because a lot of people listening probably don't go for runs just to make themselves like feel better. I guess it's probably like to, I don't know, accomplish something at a race. But yeah, like the biggest thing for me I think was relearning like my love for actually like running rather than performing in a race. And also like kind of balancing that with my this being my job and like social media being my job. I went back and forth so many times of like, what am I doing? Like when I first graduated college, I continued like running and wanted to keep competing, and that was like a mistake. I shouldn't have done that because I was burnt out and I knew I shouldn't have done that. But since I kind of had the pressure of like social media and everything, I just decided to do it. I was also living in Atlanta at the time and I like didn't have any friends or life, and running was the only thing I knew. And so I was like,
No one prepares you for that though. Like
no.
no one in these schools being like, "Hey, you've never had an identity outside of this. So we need to talk about who you are. Who are you inside of this thing that you do, which Maybe you do love it, maybe you don't. Maybe you are doing it because you're really good at it and you just think you should. Maybe you're doing it because outside pressure from parents or agents or whatever is so great. What are you going to do next? Like all of those conversations, I've never heard of them happening in colleges. Like I know you guys all have access to sports psychologists, but like it's wild to me that like people aren't helping you all develop identity as athletes so that you can have interests outside of that thing. When I was in college, one of my favorite professors, who's like ironically one of my good friends now, he's here in New York. He used to tell us like this can't be the thing. This can't be your life. This has to be your job now. Like after you leave here, like this is going to be your job, which means that you have to have hobbies and things that you love to do outside of this. This can't be your whole world. And at the time, like we're all like, we love theater. Woo! We work, 15 hours a day because we fucking love it. So
Yeah.
it didn't make sense. And it wasn't until running became my job, something that I already didn't love. I loved to run, but I don't love running. Like I don't love the running world. I don't watch stuff. Like I don't really care. I love human interest stories, but like the greater competition of running, like I could give two fucking shits about it. And it's just not something I get. I don't get it. And but I care about athletes and watching. Like I just don't get how no one's helping everybody
That's
develop
what I
identity.
Yeah, that's what I wish was like more present in the NCAA Division 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. In the NCAA world, I wish there was like some sort of program or some sort of help that people could get to kind of prepare you to let go of having sport be your number one identity. Because like you said, for me, when I was in college, I was like, running is my world, like I love it, whatever. And then the minute I stopped college, I was like, oh my goodness, like what do I do now? And because I literally, running was my life. I had no other interests really. And I had like, I mean, social media was one of my interests, and like I have a food Instagram, and that was also an interest, but a lot of that had to do with running. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to find like a balance, I guess, when that is your
It's
world.
really just it's giving you a chance to explore. Like it's teaching everybody like you have one exploration is going to be key. You don't need to know who you are right now, but you do need to have your eyes open to what's out there. So like stay curious, try new things, like try other sports, try improv, try cooking, try anything and everything to find community because I can guarantee without even knowing, like was losing your team one of like the most like hardest parts about leaving is no longer having that family unit of people who helped you like get better.
Of course. And I moved to Atlanta right after. And for 4 months when I lived there, I had almost no friends at all. So it
Oh
was like, it
God.
was the hardest 4 months of my life because I was always like with other people. I always had roommates who were my teammates too. And yeah, that was really hard. And that's why I jumped right back into running when I was in Atlanta, because I was like, I need a team. I need
And you
something
just don't know
else.
how to do it after you
Yeah.
graduate. Like you don't have it doesn't matter if you're an athlete or not. Graduating from college is so awful. Like I don't know like where the fuck is that movie or that show that's like you spend 12 plus you spend 16 years of your life knowing what you do from 7:45 whatever fucking time you wake up until you like go to bed knowing who you are. You're a student. You're doing this thing. You have whatever. And then you lose all structure and you lose all sense of like this is what I'm working towards. This is who I am. And they're like, "All right, have fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Go for it.
exactly.
And also, here's $100,000 that you have to give us back. So see you
So
in four
find a way
months
to
when
do
that
that.
starts."
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. And like I remember because that's really that's why I panicked after I graduated. I was like, oh, what? What? You mean my loan money doesn't come anymore? Like that just doesn't. I now have to pay that back. What? Like I always knew, but like the pressure of it just
Hmm.
added a different sense of like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so I got a job because I needed to pay my bills, and it took me a really long time to like gain that confidence back because I'm a perfectionist. I'm wildly competitive, and I like I don't like to do things unless I know I'm going to be like the best. And running, ironically, was the thing that really helped me work through those three things, because I am not the best. I am not good at it. And I like truly had no idea what I was doing. And then when I tried to be cute and like spent a couple of years chasing that big goal, all those things, like it was like Rumble Central with me, was figuring out like my identity as a runner, as someone who works in the running industry, who like immediately kind of found this platform. And I would like look around and it was like me and Olympians, and I was like, fuck no. Like I had imposter syndrome out the asshole. You know, like the everyone would go after me because I would be sponsored by a brand, and I would be their only not Olympian whatever who was sponsored, and people, and I would get eaten alive. And it was like, even though people had my back at the company and stuff, like it still was confirming to me what I was saying to myself: I don't belong. This doesn't make any sense. I'm an imposter. And it wasn't until like way later that I was like, oh shit, no, I'm good at this. The storytelling element of it, and showing people how to unlock their potential and like find themselves and be bad, daring to fail, like all this shit, like taking up space in a bigger body in an athletic space, like, oh right, I get it. I get it.
It's crazy though, because the majority of people that like use these brands are not Olympians. So that's why
Oh, I
it's like,
know.
so how could people hate on someone when it's like,
Well,
what,
they're looking at it like a
99.9%?
pie.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. It's that pie analogy where they think there's this amount of money for sport, and I'm taking away from, you know, the cream of the crop. When in reality, no, I'm not.
Yeah. You're
They
appealing to the
want
majority. So,
It wasn't until I was like speaking at a brand at their like big global running summit, you know, like somewhere where I was already like, oh, I shouldn't be here. And I, before my talk, like some big wig of running was on stage giving the deck about like the breakdown of how much money and where they make their money, like the trillions of dollars they make. And every year I'm like, what they want to make next year. And he just point blank started talking about my audience. And there's pictures of me in the deck. And I'm like, huh, wait a second. And he's like talking about the amount of people that run like their first 5K every year and how that's the target demographic. And I was like, huh, so I should ask for a raise, right? And
right
like
after
that
the
was
trillions of
where,
dollars slides.
right? And I'm like, you pay me pebbles. And I was like, all right, well, okay, so badass lady gang needs to be a thing. Like that tells me that what I'm doing is right, and I need to jump off that cliff that I'm
Yeah.
afraid to jump off of, because I don't think I'm serious enough to be in charge. And I was like, they think I'm serious enough to be in charge. They brought me here to talk about it, so fuck it. Like I am doing this.
Yeah.
And like it was the best decision I ever made, but I waited a really long time for someone else to tell me I belonged, you know, which sucks.
Yeah. How do you deal with hate comments? Because do you get a lot of them? Because for me it's like been a huge learning experience, just like kind of being in the social media world, and I used to let them eat me up. I used to get destroyed just like
Oh,
inside.
people tried to cancel me twice.
How?
So when I got started, I like the day I went viral, I was my first boyfriend here in New York City. We were like we were on the rocks. Like I could tell we were gonna break up, and I wanted to hang out with him. And he was like, "Oh, I can't hang out this weekend. I'm gonna go cheer for this girl during the New York City half. She's running." And I'm like, "What? You know I run. Like nothing would make me happier than standing on a corner banging a cowbell. Why can't I come?" And I'm like, fuck it, I'll run the race, and I'll run by and be like, oh, hey, I'm running this. Like, how funny would that be? So I like bought a bib on Craigslist and showed up to the race, and it was 20 degrees and I hadn't trained, and I was still like a very brand new runner. So like the day before the race, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can actually do it. Like, I haven't really been running that much. It was my first winter. And I was like really freaking out. My sister was like, you'll just make it fun. Just have fun. And so there was a hot guy behind me. And so I took a selfie with him behind me and like hashtagged it, hashtag hot guys of the New York City half, and did it every mile. And I never saw him during the race. Never saw him. and he didn't even go. But like,
Oh no.
I know. And so like for a long time there like I was called this bandit, this person who bandited races. And it was really just because I was buzzy in the running world because I'm an outspoken bigger girl who isn't very good, and I was getting sponsorship deals. So a lot of people, like the very small percentage of runners who take it really seriously, like really didn't like me. And there was a website that like went after me so many times and tried to cancel me because of that race. And then like if I jumped in a race and ran a little bit with a friend, they would say I banded the race. And like they just went after me and hounded me forever. And uh and it was so hard. It was so hard that as someone who already was like had all this imposter shit, to have like hundreds of people saying horrible things about me, horrible things about my family. And then like, I people make comments about my weight all the time. I'm really vocal about politics. People say a lot of shit about that. Like I think in the beginning it's really hard because you care a lot. That's why it hurts. You really care about what you're doing and you really care about the community that you're creating. You want people to like you, and not in the sense that like you want to be liked, but you care about what you're doing. So when someone says something that isn't constructive or is hurtful, it is hurtful, right? So like in the beginning, I don't really think there's anything you can do. You just have to start doing the work to realize that like not everyone's gonna like you. Hurt people hurt people. It's just the way it is. And the way I try to do it is if the comment isn't constructive, right? Like if it's not like a constructive comment, you can disagree and you can make it constructive. But if there's like language in it that's actually hurtful, or you're like just attacking me, like you don't deserve my space. You don't deserve to be amplified. So I delete it.
You
I just
delete
straight
it?
delete them.
Oh
I
shoot.
screenshot them and I put them in a file, and then I delete them
Oh my gosh.
if
Yeah.
I catch them,
Yeah. I mean, I've
because then you can
definitely,
use it later in against them, or like to like prove a point. And
yeah.
then it gets like tons of engagement and you help other people.
Yeah. That definitely makes
It's
sense.
really hard though.
I mean, I've definitely gotten not over it. I mean, it still hurts when I get them, but like when I first started, it
You get
definitely,
a thicker skin.
yeah, I definitely got a thicker skin. But like you said earlier in the episode, like it's hard to hear from, especially people that you don't know, like things that you're already thinking about yourself, and it just like confirms like what you're thinking about yourself, and you're like, oh my gosh, other people are thinking this too, you know. So that's just something that I
Yeah.
have struggled with, but I definitely struggled with it more in the beginning. But just I don't know. My friend also reached out the other day, and she's kind of
I
growing her
always
social
I always
media,
tell
so she like felt like it was she was
mm,
having a similar experience, but yeah.
you know what I would tell both of you to do, and this is what I do and it helps me. If something like really gets to me, because sometimes one comment will like roll off my back, another one will like actually sit with me and it will hurt. Like when that happens, I'm a big proponent of journaling anyway. I think it's a lot of work and I don't love to journal, but I do think it's really helpful.
Okay.
I will write down the comment and then I'll just start to give myself like 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever to just like free range go and try to just write down what I'm feeling. And then from there, normally when I can see the text, I can see why that's triggering to me. It
Yeah.
normally comes out. And it's always because it's either something I'm going through and I'm just sensitive, or they're saying something that I'm saying to myself that isn't
Yeah.
true. It's not
Yeah.
rooted in accurate self-talk.
Yeah. Definitely that makes sense. I feel like you have a lot of experience in this world. You're someone I definitely look up to in the social media world, especially because I feel like I mean, you're older than me and you've been in that space, I guess, a little bit longer. So it's nice to be able to talk to you about these sort of things. And I'm sure other people are also going through similar experiences. So
It's hard.
yeah, it is.
Social media is so hard. And
It's a
it like
weird
makes
place.
it fun because it is fun, and there's a lot of good to be had from it. And like there's nothing more fun than making something really funny or making something that actually helps people, but like it can also really make you want to quit.
Yeah.
Social media is the reason that like I think about quitting all the time. Like today I was ready to delete everything and I'm like, no, you're just upset about what's happening. Like let's not. do
Yeah.
anything too rash, shall we?
Yeah, probably different
It's
circumstances today.
hard. I
Yeah.
can't. Oh God, today, man, what? My
Yeah.
headphone's on airplane mode.
Probably for the best. Well, to close out the episode, do you have anything for people who are like maybe they feel like they want to run with their shirt off but they're too self-conscious? What would you say to them?
Do it. I like I said earlier, like I really do think it's important for people to start to really pay attention to what it is you say to yourself, right? Like you probably learned this in sports psychology. Think, feel, behave. That's what's happening to us all day, every day. Something happens, we think something, we feel something, and that's how we behave. So you're drinking the poison punch, you're out for a run, you're hotter than hell, you have a shirt on, you have pants on, whatever's happening. You don't want to wear shorts, maybe because your legs look different because you're not moving normally like you normally would, or maybe whatever. So you're not wearing shorts anymore. Whatever's happening, try to pay attention to that. And the only way to like break out of that routine and that like cycle of habit is to stop it and do something different instead of always turning right to turn left. So when that happens, like call your best friend who you love a lot, call whoever it is that you run with. If you don't run with anyone, find someone. There are millions and millions and millions of groups and communities out there. Like find one, go run with someone and do it together. Like strengthen numbers, but pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. And honestly, we could all do a huge dose in unlearning diet culture. We have an 8-week program going right now at Badass Lady Gang. It's on my podcast and a bunch of other stuff. One of my co-leader of our chapter here in New York City, her name's Kayla Reynolds. She has her master's in science from Columbia in human nutrition. And she works at a tech company that specializes in diet culture and like helping people unlearn habits and actually adopt healthy lifestyles. And that really has nothing to do with weight loss. That's poison punch. That's diet culture. A healthy lifestyle happens at every size. So she created this course to like help everyone through the holidays specifically try to learn what diet culture is. How do you spot it? What happens? Why do we have so many weird like myths and rules about food and our bodies? Why is it that we feel like we have to earn food? Why is it that like if we eat something we tell ourselves, well, okay, it's fine, it's tomorrow I'll go for like a 10-mile run, like it's fine, it's going to be fine, I can go for a bike ride too. We do all this shit because we're all afraid of gaining weight, and weight shaming is a thing. Like we're not here to pretend that if you're in a bigger body that life will be like all rainbows and roses. It's a big problem that we shame people for their weight. But you aren't. Kalis always likes to say like diets fail. You don't fail, diets fail you. And we've all been on diets our entire lives. So the fact that you're afraid to run in a sports bra isn't because you're like you need to work on your body confidence. It's really because like we've failed you, right? Like we've let this cycle of like horrible, awful messaging just continue forever. And it takes a lot of work to stop drinking the poison punch and really start to understand what your body needs. How do you listen to your body? You're already doing the fucking work. I guarantee you that anyone who listens to you is like running their tits off, strong as hell, kicking ass and taking names. Why don't they deserve to love the skin they're in? Everyone does, regardless of whether you don't do anything or you do all the things. But it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that we spend so much time consumed with this. I'm not good enough. I'm not small enough. I'm not strong enough. No, love where you're at today, right now.
Yeah, I love your message, and I'm really glad that you could come on and share it with all of us. And I think it's going to have a big impact on a lot of the listeners. And I know it's definitely changed the way I thought about myself and the skin that I'm in and my ability to run without a shirt on. Such a simple task, but there's a lot behind it. And yeah, I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing that with us. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm so grateful for you. I told you this. There's no one in your space. It's so fun to see you have the audience that you have and like really like take up space in your age group and be someone who came out of college into real life and like be that vocal person for everybody. because there really isn't a lot. I mean, I don't know anyone who's doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I found a couple people here and there, but it's definitely a growing movement. So
It's exciting. I mean, you
yeah,
guys need it.
yeah, definitely.
You're
Where can
doing good shit.
thank you. Where can people follow you at if they want to be inspired and keep hearing your messages?
You're not younger than me, and yet I'm always like, oh, you youths. It's so weird.
Oh, you
You're like the
use.
same age as me. You guys can find me at badassladygang.com. That's the website. I'm on social at Kelly KK Roberts, Kelly with a Y, or you can just go to Badass Lady Gang and find me from there. I'm normally promoting myself.
As we all are on social media.
Social
Well,
media.
we love
Oh
it.
boy.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. The last thing I need from you is, can we get a good old peace out, fellas, to close out the podcast?
Oh, of course. Peace out, fellas.
Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Big shout out to Sandra T for supporting the podcast. I give one of my supporters a shout out in each episode. If you want to support the podcast, it really helps me out. The link is in the show notes. If you want to support the podcast in a free way, rating and reviewing on Apple Podcasts means the world to me, and I love just reading your guys' feedback. If you want to stay up to date with the newest episodes or also ask listener questions, follow at Convos Over Cold Brew Pod on Instagram, and I will hear from you guys in the next one. Peace out, fellas.